Hallo und willkommen zurück zu Sunless Sea. Jetzt mit der 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Folge beim zweiten Kapitän. Und ja, wir sind hier in dieser Iron Republic, wo wir jetzt auch nicht viel mehr machen können, als weiterzufahren. Ja, hier können wir billig Fuel kaufen. Aber mehr auch nicht. Das Schiff, was hier vorher war, ist weg. Dann fahren wir hier mal weiter. Da oben ist es. Schnell weg da. Republican Dreadnought. Der mag mich aber, glaube ich, auch nicht. Bin zum Glück schneller. Na, geh auf. Bong. Hier ist mal herzlich wenig. Runechmi-Port, aber nichts, wo man anlanden kann. Adjusten Bluff. The sun, the sun, the sun. The Dawn Machine. Was zur Hölle? Kann man anscheinend auch nicht anlanden. Da haben wir irgendein fieses Schiff. Also hier unten scheint es auf jeden Fall deutlich böser zu sein als oben. Glorious Dreadnought. Auch töten. Oh, was haben wir denn da? Das sieht doch nach einem Dorf aus. Hat sich das Bild hier wieder eingeklappt? Dann geht das automatisch beim Kampf. Da können wir anlanden, sehr schön. Das sieht mal ziemlich groß aus. Port Carnelian. Sollten wir da nicht sogar hin? Denke nicht. Dock. Port Canelian, London's first undersea colony, sweats under a blanket of southern heat. To the right of the dock, the sapphire mines yawn. To the left, the governor's house stands, prim as an Elderwick mansion. Behind lies the fungal jungle, ghostly in white and violet. Visit Morgatory's Imperial Tea Shop. Und da kriegt man Terror wahrscheinlich gesenkt. Call at Hartscross House, where the governor administrators this distant flag of Her Majesty's Empire. The governor is very, very busy, and attaché offers you a bowl of sugared puffballs and explains the work the governor does among the natives. Got to keep them happy, what? After all, they are tigers. Pan for sapphires in the fungal jungle. Huh? Sapphires? A very chancy challenge. Port Canelian 3. Hierfür Networks a Diplomatic Agent. Und das hier mal. Failed. Tale of Terror. Native ambush. Perhaps an ambush is a strong word, but there's a tiger sitting on a broad mushroom cap, asking unflattering question about your nutritional value. Hier können wir Supplies kaufen. Sogar günstiger als normal. Sapphire Exchange. Mountain Shirt. Right click to use this item. Ja, dann kaufen wir doch hier Supplies ein. Das ist auf jeden Fall gut zu wissen, dass wir da unten nochmal ordentlich einkaufen können, wenn wir es brauchen. Denn das ist auch ein besserer Traveling-Ausgangsort als London selber. Also jetzt für die untere Seite, weil wir da halt natürlich näher dran sind. The crawling stars, the lookout shouts far above the false stars in the cavern roof are shifting. A rare and ominous event. What now? Eyes on the deck. Forbid them to look. You can't really stop them. But you can at least discourage discussion. They won't like you, but it's safer. Record the change and assign a name. As the new shapes seems well omened, your crew may be cheered, who knows? Machen wir das? Unlucky, better luck next time. 2 terror. Naja. 3 of the false stars wink out altogether as suddenly as closed eyes. The pattern that remains is as hopeless and meaningless as cast dice. Somewhere a sailor begins to sob. Aha. Terror 28 ist natürlich auch nicht wenig. Isle of Cats is somewhere to the north. Tough. Ja. Die waren nicht böse, da waren keine Ausrufezeichen. Isle of Cats ist to the east. Aber das sieht danach aus, wenn hier auch noch was wäre. Sizzling vapors rise from the sea. Time slips sideways. A coil of rope has stung a stoker and this fellow beat it. Blah blah blah. Fat crow. Come on deck to find the metal sharp with sparks. Ozonal coronas haunt the ship. This is Dawn's Edge. Castle Claire. Da unten ist aber auch noch was. Neo Grand Göde, some distance to the southwest. Da ist aber auch was. Silos Town. Bim. Dock. A naval base with the Royal's Navy emblems, curiously amended, efficient. A bright-eyed woman and men work briskly everywhere you look. They are singing hymns with unfamiliar words. Hard-faced Royal Marines watch you carefully, bearing entry to the Georg's heart. A plaque by the docks has been defaced with orange paint, but you can still make out the original inscription. Station 5, adjunct. What is this place? The Commodore shakes your hand warmly. He's a handsome, open-faced yellow in an immaculate navy uniform. His office is equally handsome. It overlooks the glittering interior crystal cliff. It must be as well lit as any study underneath. He deflects questions about the purpose of this installation. Classified, you know, but smilingly offers you tea, biscuits and mineralogical anecdotes oder so. The biscuits are good, but the anecdotes rather blend one into the next. You find yourself nodding and then jerk suddenly awake. The Commodore is smiling. Your cup is empty. You feel well. Very well. A little euphoric, even. Come back soon, he says softly. Wir haben Memoirs, a Sunstroke. Aha. You find a story when you expect port to receive this. Ist klar. With Terror und ein Dings bekommen. Okay. Port Report. So. Element of Dawn from the Commodore. 50 supplies. Engage an officer, the Cornelian exile. Dark spectacled woman marches up to you in some haste. Captain, take me with you. I am no longer welcome here. And I will show you where we need to go. As first officer. Aber First Officer haben wir schon. Was braucht man nochmal für die? Damit kommt man den... My sleep is riddled with dreams, Captain. Dreams of bells and candles. Wir wollen aber hier jetzt nicht improven erstmal. He paces the deck. I see a lonely house lit by a tallow and wick. A bell is ringing. Learning about the storage navigator hasn't changed because it's higher than 10. Was? Da haben wir jetzt das gleiche Event nochmal getriggert, was kompletter Unsinn war. Okay. Torpedo components. Boah. Hier können wir auch im Grunde nichts anfangen. Wobei, wir können natürlich den Officer mitnehmen. Scheint ja nicht zu kosten. Here I am, a ship I suppose is both always here and never there, because there becomes here. Appoint your new officer by dragging bla bla bla. Mit dem können wir immerhin auch noch reden. Invite her to dine with you. Dafür brauchen wir aber ein Siren Enigma. Aha. But don't ask her to remove her glasses. Ask her to remove her glasses. You need to attempt to... Mhm. Ask her, yes. At last, Swords Song. Ah. Ist das ein Zahn, der da rauskommt? Naja. Schön, kann man aber so nichts tun. Dann paddeln wir nochmal rüber nach Port Carnelian. Da können wir dann auch wieder einkaufen. Da fahren wir voll rein. The killing wax wind blows you from the south. Engines labor, sailors cry out and fall. Canadian coast far to the south, the neath glimmers above the mountain light. Dann aber doch ja normal vorwärts zu gehen. Naja, wo war ein bisschen langsamer vielleicht. The Hungry Dad. Your cook is outraged. One of the tomb colonists says, ah, okay. Perhaps he say put this time. Machen wir nichts. Und Supplies, ja. Terror, ja, vielleicht sollten wir da mal in der Kneipe jetzt dinieren. Doc. T-Shop, jo. 5 Terror, naja. They import the doilies from London, but the tea is local, blue and smoky. The crumpets are warm, the tablecloths white. You could almost imagine you were back in Wellgarden. Except for the tiger longing on a divan laps tea from an azure bowl and complains about the recent nostalgic trend in poetry. Whatever. Somewhere in the ja. Machen wir das. Ah, successful. Toll, 21 Echo bekommen. Braving the Junnel's violet spore drifts, you find a narrow stream. You kneel among the red-capped agarics that spot its blanks. It doesn't have heave with sapphires as the stories promise, but an afternoon planning yields a pocket full of glittering shards. Aha. Okay, dann machen wir hier mal Fuel, mehr Supplies und dann geht's wieder weiter. Was sagt die Fledermaus? Isle of Cats is a long way to the north. Ah. Erstmal hier unten noch ein bisschen erforschen. Terror is increasing. Bubbles thicket. Bubbles thicket. Ziemlich dichte Vegetation hier unten. Crying Heights is some distance to the east. Ja, da sollte man dann wohl gleich vorbeikommen. Oh, da ist wieder der Nebel. Mal da anlanden. It's clear, bright beam warns the way. Speak to the crew. Purchase fuel. Machen wir Speak to the crew. Z Story. 5 Tower verloren und ja. Können ruhig mal wegfliegen, ne? Shit. Ah, da oben wäre was gewesen. Dann fahren wir... Oder... Ne, das ist das, wo ich war, oder? Ja, ja. Dann fahren wir hier in die Sülze rein. Das tut unserem Geist nicht besonders gut. Fahren wir überhaupt noch vorwärts? Ja. Also mal raus. Wir sind natürlich in einem Zipfelchen Land vorbeigefahren. Peters Rocks. Oha, was ist das? Das ist ein Killerhai. Tormented Bound Shark. Ist da unten was? Ich glaube nicht. Ja, dann werde ich mal langsam wieder nach oben ziehen. Hier sollte ja immerhin die Isle of Cats... Ja genau, haben wir gerade auch das Gebiet gefunden. Reef of Rose is a long way to the north. Port Cavendish. Dock. A scatter of yellow-lit honey, dense and brightly painted alehouses. To the southeast rises the stone tower of Cavendish Abbey. Its ramparts hung with crimson and gold banners. There are sailors from all across the Zenith, hauling cargo, dicing and brawling good naturally on the docks. The air carries the sound of sea shanties sung with more enthusiasm than skill, and the smell of roses edged with brimstone. The piratical welcome. Welcome to the Isles of the Cats. Isle of Cats, the wide-eyed dockmaster says brightly. Would you like to bribe me not to write down your details in this nice official ledger? Okay, kostet nur 5. Machen wir mal. You hand over the coins and she tips you a sharp smile before waving you to the nearest alehouse. The entire process is straightforwardly corrupt and pleasingly efficient. Significant tokens. No, the alehouse's sign is a tiger painted the color of rose petals. Someone has gone to great trouble and expense to gild the creature's eyes. They look out over the port, feral and unseeing. A caged hive of lamplighter bees hangs from the ceiling like a chandelier. A few sailors give you hard-mouthed, assessing looks, but most ignore your presence entirely. Significant tokens. Catties all wear a pair of amber stones threaded around their necks or pinned to their collars. Cat's eyes, one of them says. For the Pirate King. As far as you can gather, the Pirate King's name is Leopold, and he controls all the trade on the island. Half of the catties believe that he can take the form of a crimson tiger and creep into their dreams. The other half suspects, more prosaically, that he simply eats those who displease him. Clandestine doings, a whispered conversation, the clink of coins in exchange of goods. You turn your head as though you are admiring one of the mouldering draperies hung from the wall. A vial flashes in the buyer's trembling hands. He uncorks it, pours a few drops of thick red liquid down his throat. The vial drops to the floor. Then you look back up. He is gone. You blink and look around. Nobody else seems in the last perturbed that a man disappears. Nobody else seems in the least perturbed, was immer das auch wieder für ein Wort ist, that a man disappeared from their midst. You pick up the fallen vial and examine the traces left inside, sticky honey gleaming with redness entirely unlike blood. Religious observances. Is that a crimson-veiled nun? But what sort of nun would be in a place like this? A mellifluous sister, of course, she responds, performing a complicated negotiation between veil, thick glove, and glass of mushroom wine. You ask what one of those is, and she snorts. I'm glaring at you underneath this blooming veil. You act appropriately cowed. and the mellifluous sister thaws a little. We are beekeepers and honey harvesters. The catties owe their prosperity to us, and the Pirate King too. She slurps at last of the mushroom wine behind her veil, and the barkeep glides over to refill her glass, eyes respectfully downcast. Aha, und das letzte, leave the alehouse. There must be more to the Isle of the Cats than drunken thoughts and sea stories. Make sure you have learned all you wish to before you leave this place. Ja, haben wir. Laws of the land. The barkeep stops you before you reach the door and hands you a brooch set with 2 amber stones. He waits passively until you pin it to your clothes. Everybody wears the cat's eyes here. He tells you, moving aside to let you pass. Just a friendly reminder that the Pirate King is watching. It seems that no place then is truly lawless. In occurrence, your Isle of Cats, the Pirate King notice qualities now 1. You are almost entirely beneath his notice. The honey-eyed tongue. It is both a brothel and honey den, run by someone the catty is referred to as the Pirate King. Aber da waren wir ja schon drin, oder? Ne. Entering the brothel is like sliding into the dream of a surface orientalist. Jewel-embroidered cushions, bright silk drapes, gilded statues of elephants, sun bears, and clouded leopards. Silver censers release curling plumes of rose-scented smoke into the air. The courtesans are red-lipped and coal-smudged. Then you catch their eyes. They smile back at you with professional interest. Your actions will attract the Pirate King notice. You need 5 Pirate King notice to gain an offer from a patron. The claw keeps a suit in the maze of corridors above the brothel. Ask what red honey is. You know, of course, only the particulars may have slipped your mind. One of the nearby courtesans' eyebrows lifts infinitesimally, but his reply is practiced. When lamplighter bees suck the nectar of the crimson strain of exile's rose, they are driven to madness. They enter the brains of humans and harvest their memories. He shudders, as though imagining the process himself. Those memories are instilled in red honey. Each zip is a burst of memory on the tongue. Deliciously awful, isn't it? He flutters his dyed feather fan. Nervous sind wir. Comfort sea captain. A sea captain is weeping gently into a courtesan's bosom, muttering of her lost crew and rose gardens. Okay, machen wir einfach mal. They're all tending the gardens now. She wails and begins to weep again. My poor crew. You wait for a hitch in the sobs and inquire further. It is a slow, delicate business, drawing answers out of her. But you are nothing if not perseverant. It seems her crew was conscripted by the Lady of the Gardens, and that their duties are something far worse than horticulture. You leave her reciting the names of her lost sailors and commending them to Saul's mercy. Wir haben trotzdem 60 Fragmente verloren. Und wir haben wieder so ein Ding bekommen. Swap Tales with Nani Smuggler. Das ist ein bisschen anstrengend hier. Cavendish Abbey. The crimson-clad mellifluous sisters patrol its ramparts and tend their hives of lamplighter bees. The mellifluous sisters make their home in the richly appointed stone tower of Cavendish Abbey. Their thick gloves and crimson Mesh helmets are worn, less for modesty and more of particularity. They tend the hives of the lamplighter bees all across the isle and make a religious observance of harvesting red honey for the Pirate King. Your actions will attract the Blasels. Okay. Kann man nicht machen, kann man nicht machen. Fuel for the bee smokers. The sister tends the smokers in the talkative sort. 5 können wir uns aber nicht erlauben, weil wir nicht mehr wegkommen. He's always interested in news from London. Haben wir nicht. Perhaps not. Compile a port report. Though the isle seems at present beyond the reach of the Admiralty's laws, that does not mean that the Admiralty lacks interest in the activities. You spend half a day observing the docks and note an astonishing number of variety of ships. Was that a Kanat Trimarian nestled beside a vessel from the Iron Republic? The dockhands complain loudly that they have never been busier. The catties talk ceaselessly and carelessly about smuggling and piracy. But even the most hardened sailors lower their voices when they mention the king. They go even quieter when they talk about the Rose Garden. You make careful notes. Perhaps the Admiralty will understand what they mean, even if you don't. Buy a shipment of red honey. Key to the cage gardens and no more than a key to... Okay. Sell sunlight. Jo. Können wir wohl auch nicht viel tun. Mit News oder Fuel würden wir hier weiterkommen. Isle of Cats. Fahren wir mal weiter. Das wird mir hier schon angezeigt komplett. Naja, westlich wird wohl nichts sein. Spin them a story. Der war verloren, passt. Nicht feindlich zu sein. Discovered Visage. Da ist ein Dock. Kapalka Cove. Danach müsste ich aber auch nach Norden, um zurück nach London zu kommen. So langsam wird es nämlich da eng. This is the port of Visage, where faces may not be naked. Inward and upward. Once you set foot on Visage, you may be here for a little while. Aha. Create a port report. Machen wir das zuerst. The departing merchant gives you a confused account of crocodiles and honey cakes and something about your blockage. To this you add your own impressions about the street layout, close to port and the types of commerce here. When the lights are especially bright, it is possible to make the details of the profile of that great stone face. All those who enter must pay their parts. The sun is visible only after you cross the threshold. One may not wander visage at will. On the lower slopes, stone buildings, flat roofs, archways, in the architecture there lingers a memory of lotus and palm frond. The hill above is a face, forever looking up at the ceiling of the Untersee. No one inhabits its cheek and or the hollows of its eyes. All visitors must pass, one by one, through a room guarded by a person in the mask of a moon moth. Masks in an assortment of shapes and colors await. Ask to go about without any mask. Your own fair face will do for you. Thanks you very much. Ask the significance of the mask. Maybe there's more to it than the question of aesthetic taste. Moonmoth explains, each mask declares a different intention towards the denizens of Visage and must be accompanied by a suitable behavior. The frog is for visitors who, though perhaps clumsy and unfamiliar with local etiquette, have come in order to observe local ways and to make uncouth comments about them. The locust is for those who seek profit in Visage and would carry away as many goods as possible. You prompt about the bat. Moonmoth hesitates. Bat is an ill-omened visitor, sent as a messenger or a spy. Bat always dies. Nehmen wir die Frog Mask. Moonmoth lifts the mask and places it over your head. The eye holes are large and they are fitted with spectacles. These improve your view of the environment, though you must look bulb-eyed from the outside. There is also a mechanism attached to the mouthpiece which magnifies any sounds you make, even your breathing. You start to thank the moon moth and it comes out as a booming croak. May you profit from your visit in knowledge, says Moonmoth. Its wings fold neatly over its back. Visit the Library of Parts, so called because of the books are fragmentary perhaps. On the lower slopes, stone buildings, flat roofs, archways, in the architecture there lingers a memory of lotus and palm. Mal schon, okay. A room of heavy stone, guarded by a golden statuette of a woman with outstretched arms. The scroll in niches, sorted to correspond to a variety of masks. The jackal and the lioness, the crocodile and dung beetle. A woman in the mask of a lotus blossom is standing at a lectern, reading in silence. Moon moths stand to one side as your escort and tour guide. What sort of place is there anyway? What sort of parts are there anyway? Moonmoth explains, people think it means something like library of fragments, but this is wrong. The parts in question are like parts in a play. This is where the denizens, keine Ahnung, of Visage, come in order to learn how to perform their masks more accurately, more completely, with a truer spirit. Study the scrolls in a bumbling way. They look very old after all. Talking the nearest, you read it aloud, for guarding against the loss of the heart. Moonmoth takes it from you, rolls it tightly and returns it to its niche. There are as many ways of guarding against the loss of the heart as there are different masks. It explains in that some light and in different voice. In that same light and in different voice. Was auch immer. Visit the flood cart. The Moonmoth speaks as though you should already know what that is. The flood court is a long stone room with 2 ranks of columns on each side. Currently, the court is ankle deep in water, through water stains on the stone show that the flow has often reached higher, sometimes up to the height of your waist. In a raised niche at the far end of the room sits a statue of a man with the head of a ram. He holds a jar from which water flows out onto the floor. Moonmoth stands one side as you escort. Ask about the purpose. Ja, schon. Show oafish enthusiasm for this wonderful indoor pool. Rocks like pools, right? Croak. You exclaim at how much you admire this room and its excellent pool. Your words are, as always, amplified into a croak. Other masks turn towards you. Crocodile, lotus blossom, crescent moon. But no one speaks. You have garnered a suitable degree of disdain. Moonmoth quietly applauds your performance of froghood. You gained 1 visage expertise in parts. New total 2. Da waren wir ja schon drin. Write notes in the margins. If your frog globe will hold a pen, that is. Halt there! Moonmoth is startled. Apparently, no other frog has gone so far to attempt to deface the library's holdings. It gets the pen away from you, expostulating. Later you find it, writing down a record of what you just did. To be added to the library of parts, a recollection of that can be expected from frogs. Trade masks with the Moonmoth. It has been making subtle overtures for some time. You only now understand them. It draws you aside into a closet in the customs house. Had enough of visage, it tells you frankly. Here, you take my mask and pretend to be me, and I'll trade in the visitor mask and get on some departing ship, get my life back. Its face? No, now you see her face. It's aging but unlined. A lifetime of never needing to use a facial expression. And power quality is now aware of the moth roll. An occurrence, your visage, your mask quality is now 4, moth mask. Visit the house of the chief geometer. Lines in wet ground. Each morning the man in the cobra mask draws lines in the mud flat with pointed steel rods. This apportions to each inhabitant a small trapezoidal area from which to harvest mushrooms and to scrape salt. No plot is ever preserved from one day to the next. This man is the chief geometer, the keeper of directions, master of land measures and sea measures. God. Viel text. Now you have been invited to his home at the time customarily appointed for him to receive those who are not his equal in rank, yet not so far beneath him as you deserve to be ignored. What ceremonial gift will you bring? Bring a string of rats. Cobras like to eat rodents, surely? Bring a necklet of lapis bats. If they do not suit him, they may suit a wife of his. If they don't suit her, he can use them for an offering. Bring a poem concerning snakes copied on a new scroll. 800 lines of the scaly denizens of the snake pit. Bring a coombe made of bone. Perhaps he grows hair beneath his mask, which covers his whole head. Bring fresh candles. You have heard that he likes candles. Bring nothing. It is apparent for one of lesser rank to presume to show charity to a superior. Presume to show charity to a superior. Bring a string of red. Nee. Machen wir das hier. He gives them to a servant with orders that they be crushed, and the powder made to pigment, and the pigment used for painting. It is uncertain whether this is a deadly insult. You aren't thrown out of the house, at any rate. Visit at the house, chief. Blah. Bring a necklet of lapis beds. If they do not suit him, they may suit his wife. Da hatten wir eigentlich eben schon mal, also konnte das nicht funktionieren. Bring a poem. He appears to be pleased with this gift, but it takes him aback as well. Several times he remarks that this sort of merchandise is something he would expect to be brought to the island by a bat. It requires a great deal of chittering and wing folding to persuade him of your moth nature. Enter the hollow of the ear. This is a journey of several steps and may conclude your current visit. Ja, müssen wir ja. A proud nose. Ich muss mal gerade gucken. A proud nose. It is a festival day. The great stone face has been illuminated from forehead to chin with blazing torches, so that the profile is visible from the side more clearly than you have ever seen it. Flourishing of years is awake, says the generalist figure in the crocodile mask. Festival of Flourishing. All the denizens, wie auch immer das ausgesprochen wird, denizens, keine Ahnung, of Visage are walking towards the ear together. There is a place in the procession which belongs by right to the wearer of your mask. Fall in line with the others, how else will you discover what lies within? Fall in line with the others, secretly bringing a flare with you. Perhaps you will need it in the darkness where you are going. Strip off your mask and prepare to depart. With everyone distracted by this festival, your departure would not even be noticed. Wir gehen dahin. How else do you discover the lies? You go as though you were truly one of them. You carry nothing with you but your mask and your costume. May your heart be as light as a feather, says the woman in the lotus blossom mask, as you fall into the line behind her. Inside the hollow of the ear. The road you follow leads up through switchbacks along the side of the face and finally to the ear of flourishing of years and into the cave that is here her ear. The tunnel bends back on itself, and all lights have now been extinguished. There is nothing to guide you but the hand and the person behind you on your back. The movement of the person in front of you. The one who walks beside you wears a bat mask. Fortunately, the floor of the tunnel is very smooth and presents no stumbling blocks. Sound carries strangely in this place, however. Sometimes you cannot hear your own footsteps, and sometimes breath comes back to you audible from someplace ahead in line. Try to run. You do not really know what this festival is or what it means. There's a secret in the dark. Continue. The footsteps of the people are steady and synchronized, and you go together. For how many years has this been done, and for how many will it be done in the future? Watch your step here, says Batmask to you in an under voice. Its accent is the accent of Wolfstack dogs. Floor is about to get squishier, and sure enough it does. At last the tunnel opens out. You and all other congregants spread out in a cavernous space. A voice speaks in the darkness, a spiritual preparation. Here, at the new year, we gather under the one mask of flourishing of ears. Her face is turned to the gods. Protected by her mask, we may remove our own. Protected by her script, we may speak outside our parts. Here and there is the sound of people fumbling with ties and strings. Your own face feels different with the mask off. Klingt mir nicht so sinnvoll. Wait, listen, there are things here to learn, perhaps to your advantage. Not much for blackmail. You move stealthily through the dark, hearing one knot of conversation and then another. The secret exchanged do not offer much leverage. You can't see the owners of the secrets. Here and there you catch the smallest fragments of something that might serve you on a future occasion. The memory of a voyage east, a half-rumor about a Canelian coast, a muttering about the Admiralty. Let the ceremony end according to the proper rites. Last bell. At the end of the hour there comes a woman with a feather of shimmering silver, which she stucks into your hand. Symbol of the innocent heart that will not be eaten by the jackal. Then a bell rings and the time of speech is over. You all begin to put your masks back on. It is possible, you cannot know for sure, that in this cover someone has exchanged a mask with someone else. It is an orderly and perfect line that emerges again from the ear of flourishing of years. If anyone watches from above, they must surely be satisfied. You've gained one secret, now have one captivating treasure. An occurrence, your visage ritual participant quality is now 9. Spectre. End your performance and leave the island. You can stay in character forever. Karma. When the other citizens are distracted, you find your way to the familiar customs house and rid yourself of mask and robe. There is a satisfaction in laying aside a role well performed. You've lost 10 terror. Your visage, your own mask quality has gone. Inward and outward, once is it foot. Na, ich weiß nicht. Aber gut, dann werde ich auch erstmal wieder einen Schnitt machen. Und dann geht's beim nächsten Mal weiter. Bis dann!